Episode 952. Positive attitude is a competitive advantage.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
I am still in Austin, and I'm so happy to not have to have gotten on a plane for a little while. So, I'm as of this date, I have 2.6 million miles on American Airlines alone.
Wow.
I know. So it's really nice to just not have to get on an airplane for a little while.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, tell us what this particular podcast is about.
Well, it's about positive attitude. So let me start with a question to the BNI members, to the listeners. When you walk into a BNI meeting, how quickly do you feel the room? Not what's on the agenda, not how many visitors are there, just the energy. Because whether we admit it or not, attitude walks into the room before introductions do. Because years ago, I discovered I ran a survey of over 3,000 business professionals asking a simple question: what are the characteristics of a great networker? And positive attitude ranked in the top 2, right alongside with a good listener. Now, that's not accidental. That's not soft. That's not strategic. And that's why positive attitude isn't just a nice idea in BNI. It's actually one of our core values. Positive attitude is contagious, for better or worse. And here's the truth. Attitude spreads faster than referrals. One consistently positive member can lift a chapter. One consistently negative member can drain it. That's why I talk about in my book, Who's in Your Room, surround yourself with engines, not anchors, not people that are dragging you down. I've seen chapters with less members outperform stronger chapters, larger chapters, simply because their culture was healthier. Why? Because people don't just join BNI for referrals. They join and they stay for how it feels to belong. They stay for the relationships, particularly the positive ones. I'll never forget, and I think I may have said this in a podcast, and we're up to almost 1,000 podcasts, so I don't remember all the stories, but there was a chapter I went to, and this member was talking about how they have a member in their chapter, and she said, "This guy's a fun sucker."
Yeah.
He just sucks the fun right out of the room. And she said, our best meetings are when he calls in sick. We have great meetings when he's not there. Wow, that's horrible. But that's accurate. I mean, attitudes make all the difference in the world. Priscilla, you ever worked anywhere where somebody got let go or quit, and like almost all the employees go, "Oh, thank goodness that person's gone."
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it in employment. I've seen it in BNI chapters. Positive attitude creates psychological safety. It creates trust. It creates a willingness to collaborate. It creates an energy to refer proactively. Negative attitude creates defensive listening, withheld referrals, short-term thinking, exit interviews. Attitude's a choice. It's not a personality trait. This is where I want to bring in a quote that I've loved for years and years, and I gave this to my kids, and I'm happy to say one of them at least put it up on a wall in their house, and I'm so proud of her for having done it. It's the Charles Swindoll quote. I'm sure you've probably heard it, Priscilla, but I'm going to read this quote. It's kind of long. It's about attitude, and Swindoll says, "The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearance, than giftedness or skill. It'll make or break a company, community, or home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and this is our attitude. He said, I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. I read this years ago, Priscilla.
That's a great, wonderful piece of writing.
It's fantastic. And it's so true. It is so true. You know, I hadn't planned on mentioning this, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was horrified. I was shocked. I was surprised. And as I had a long drive after I got the diagnosis, almost a 2-hour drive to get down to my family who were staying down in a different part. They were staying down in San Diego, and I was driving down to them. And I thought, okay, all right, this is horrible. What possible positive outcomes could I get from this cancer diagnosis? And I wrote a list of the possible positive outcomes that I could have from a cancer diagnosis. And I can tell you, and I may have done a podcast on this, I think I came up with 7 or 8 things, and Priscilla, all of them 100% came true.
Wow. Do you remember any of them?
Yeah, I do. One was, I was going through a lot of, it was when BNI Connect was being developed and, you know, people wanted to draw and quarter me. They were so mad at me. They were just furious with me. And I thought, well, they'll cut me some slack. At least, well, he's got cancer. We'll leave him alone. And it was true. It absolutely happened. People kind of backed off for their anger as BNI Connect was being developed. Another one was, hey, I'll lose that weight that I've been gaining over the years, in which I also did. And one of the things was that it'll draw me closer to my wife, to Elizabeth, and it did that as well. And so every single one of the things that I wrote down in my car as I was driving down in the parking lot, called the California freeways, every one of them came true. And this was on my mind. Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so I wanted to react to it in a way that had a potential positive spin. And to me, this isn't optimism. It's ownership of how one shows up in the world. And in BNI, that kind of ownership matters. You don't control the weather. You don't control the economy. You don't control whether your visitor shows up or not. You don't control whether someone passes you a referral this week. But you do control how you show up. You do control how you speak about your chapter and your fellow members. You do control how you react when things don't go your way. If you're listening to this podcast, and if you think for 1 second that things have gone my way, most of the time, you're delusional. I have had many things not go my way, and it's how I reacted to them that made a difference, not the fact that they didn't go my way. So positive attitude builds trust faster than credentials, in my opinion. And here's something that people rarely talk about. Before someone trusts your competence, they assess your emotional reliability. Ask yourself, do people feel better after talking to me? Or do they feel heavier? That's really an important question. Do they feel better when they talk to you? In networking, trust is emotional before it's logical. That's why in the survey that we did, and I'll have the survey posted in this podcast, the survey that we did, positive attitude ranked higher than trustworthiness. Can you believe that? It ranked higher than trustworthiness in networking. It ranked higher than follow-up. It ranked higher than expertise. Not because those aren't important, but because attitude amplifies everything else. attitude amplifies everything else. Positive attitude fuels giver's gain. Let's connect to this kind of giver's gain. Giving is not just about actions, it's about intent. People give more referrals to people who appreciate them, celebrate others, stay constructive during challenges. Positive attitude signals I'm safe to invest in, and referrals are investments. What positive attitude is and is not is this. I mean, let's be clear. Positive attitude does not mean pretending problems don't exist. It doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations or smiling through dysfunction. Positive attitude means focusing on solutions, not blame. Asking, how do we fix this instead of who caused this? It's about believing progress is possible. It's realism with hope attached. I love this phrase. It's realism with hope attached. I need to turn that into an Ivanism for the record.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dana, who does all of my, she does all the transcripts. Dana, turn this into an Ivanism. Realism is hope. Positive attitude is realism with hope attached. It's the chapter multiplier effect. So here's a final thought. Every BNI chapter has a tone setter. Sometimes it's the president. Sometimes it's a veteran member. Sometimes it's the person who speaks right after the education coordinator. That person's attitude multiplies. So ask yourself, what am I multiplying in my chapter? Mm-hmm. Energy or erosion? Momentum or maintenance? Positive attitude isn't about being cheerful. It's about constructive, resilient, and intentional. It's why the data supports it. It's why it's a core value in BNI, and it's why the strongest chapters don't just track referrals, they protect the culture. Because when attitude is right, everything else has a better chance of going right too. That's it for today, Priscilla.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ivan. That was great.
I went on a different rant this week than last week.
Well, it's all useful. It really is.
Good.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this week. Thank you so much for that great information. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material available to you at MeisnerAudioprograms.com and then use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.